Our third story is called Mr. Clever Flies a Kite, written by the same artist. One blustery day, Mr. Clever called at Miss Neat's house. "What perfect weather for flying a kite," he said to her. "Won't you join me for kite flying on Windy Hill? You can tidy up your garden later." And after much persuasion, Miss Neat agreed. She ran inside to find her kite, and as you can imagine, her kite was perfectly ironed and neatly folded. Such a perfectly neat kite could only belong to Miss Neat. "I am so very, very clever to have built this clever kite for myself," boasted Mr. Clever. "I have made it out of a map so that we'll never get lost. How very clever I am." Lots of friends have gathered on Windy Hill. Mr. Greedy had the most delicious-looking kites. How greedy! Mr. Mean had made his kite out of an old vest. How mean! Mr. Muddle had gotten a terrible tangle with his kite. What a muddle! "Not very clever at all," laughed Mr. Clever. "I am so much very more clever than that." Everyone had beautiful kites. Everyone except Mr. Forgetful. He had forgotten his. How forgetful! It wasn't long before the wind got even stronger. The kite flew wildly in the sky and soon got tangled up. Mr. Tall came to the rescue and worked hard to untangle them. Mr. Clever was far too clever to let his kite get in a tangle. Suddenly there was a shout. "Help!" Poor Miss Tiny. She was so very small and light that she had been blown away with her kite. "Help me, help me!" Mr. Small rushed her to rescue, but he was so small and light that his feet were lifted off the ground and he was lifted right into the air with Miss Tiny. Thank goodness that Mr. Tall was there. Just then Mr. Tickle arrived. Mr. Tickle was looking for someone to tickle. Mr. Tickle was looking for anyone to tickle. Tickle, tickle. It is not at all easy to fly a kite while you are being tickled. "I am so very, very clever," said Mr. Clever proudly. "I have an excellent idea. Let's have lunch. And Mr. Tickle can look after the kites." After holding all of those kites, Mr. Tickle was so tired he could hardly lift his arms. He went back home, exhausted, with only enough strength for... Can you guess, clever clogs? That's right, a tiny tickle for you. Time for our bonus story.